Welcome to Pre-Algebra, Unit 2 Integers, and today we will be learning on how to subtract integers. Let's begin with the rules of subtraction. The rule says, change the subtraction problem into an addition problem. Method, add the opposite of the number after the subtraction sign. This approach is frequently referred to as add the opposite. Once changed, simply apply the standard rules for addition. To understand these rules even more better, let's look at some examples. Example number 7 says 8 minus 3. In this case, take the opposite of 3, which is negative 3. So 8, we have to add the opposite of 3, right? So 8 plus minus 3. In this case, both the integers, they have different signs. So simply subtract the integers and take the sign from the bigger number. So 8 minus 3 is 5. And the larger number here is 8. So the sign taken would be positive. So the answer would be positive 5. Example number 8 says minus 4 minus 6. In this case, add the opposite of 6, right? Minus 4 plus minus 6, right? So when we are using the opposite rule, okay, just ignore the sign in the middle, okay? So in this case, it would be minus 4 minus 6, right? So ignore the sign we have is positive 6. So take the opposite of positive 6. So minus 4, okay, then plus minus 6, okay. And in this question, you can see that both the integers, they have the same sign, right? In that case, simply add both the integers and keep the negative. So 6 plus 4 is 10 and keep the negative. So the answer to this question would be minus 10. Let's take a look at some advanced subtraction problems. Example number 9 says 9 minus minus 4. In this case, add the opposite of minus 4, right? So the opposite of minus 4 would be a positive 4. So 9 plus 4. 9 plus 4 is 13. So the answer would be 13. Since in this question, you can see that both the integers, they have the same sign, right? So just simply add it and keep the positive. Example number 10 says minus 6 minus minus 2. Now in this case, add the opposite of negative 2, which is a positive 2. So minus 6 plus 2, okay. In this question, you can see that both the integers, they have different signs, right? So simply subtract both the integers. So 6 minus 2 is 4 and keep the sign from the larger number. In this question, the larger number is 6 and the sign of 6 is negative. So the answer would be negative 4. Student practice questions. The first question says 18 minus minus 7. So in this case, add the opposite of minus 7. The opposite of minus 7 would be a plus 7. So 18 plus 7 is equal to 25. Question number 2 says minus 25 minus 14. In this case, you can see that both the integers, they have the same sign. So add both the integers and keep the negative. So 25 plus 14 gives 39. And keep the negative. So the answer would be negative 39. Question number 3 says minus 36 minus minus 19. In this case, add the opposite of minus 19. So minus 36 plus 19. In this question, both the integers, they have different signs, right? So in this case, subtract both the integers and take the sign from the larger number. So 36 minus 19 gives 17, and the answer would be negative 17. Question number 4 says 42 minus 58. So simply subtract both the integers. So 58 minus 42. And in this question, the greater number is 58. So the sign of 58 is negative. So our answer would be negative 16. Question number 5 says minus 50 minus minus 75. Now in this case, add the opposite of minus 75, which is plus 75. In this question, both the integers, they have different signs, right? So simply subtract both the integers. And take the sign from the larger number. In this question, the larger number is 75 and the sign of 75 is positive. So the answer to the last question would be positive 25. We have come to the end of today's lesson. The sources I've used is Beginning and Intermediate Algebra by Tyler Wallace and Rules of Integers by the mathematician Brahmagupta. Thank you so much.